my temperature sensor works when we're stopped, so that's useful. I think as soon as we start moving, it starts syncing. Hey folks, and welcome back to Project 40. First of all, thank you all for the lovely comments on the previous video. We had a whale of a time on our road trip to Wales. The cars did amazingly, the roads were fantastic, and generally it was just a really awesome couple of days. But it is highlighted a problem with the Punto in that it doesn't get warm. And I think today we need to take a look and figure out ultimately what the problem is. Here's the thermostat, and as you can see it looks pretty grimy and original. There's a few hoses to pop off, but overall I don't think this should be too bad of a job to do. There's the original coolant temperature sensor. I've got another one that should arrive at some point today, but at least for filling up the car and testing the thermostat, we can reuse that existing one. There's no problem at all. One thing I'll probably do is remove this and maybe the battery tray, just to make it a little bit easier to access. So let's get cracking. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realise there was a secondary filter. That's pretty fun. BMC air filter, looks to be in good condition. So removing these two bolts here, it's got the original Fiat fittings, which are a bit of a pain to work with. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 hoses. So let me double check that against my existing, against the new thermostat. Yep, that seems to have four ports, so we can proceed with the installation. Actually looking at it, it's going to be easier just to remove this than the battery tray, because access is just going to be a bit of a pain. It doesn't really matter, does it? That's given us loads of access of being able to remove this, so it totally makes sense. I would probably had a much more difficult time to remove that. What I'll probably do is probably spray some WD-40 on these, give that a few minutes to sink in, and then get cracking with the removal. Rusty. So not only have we got that sort of clip here, we've also got this as well, and it's on, these are on every single connection. So, bit of a pain, but we'll get there. Alright, so we need to remove this bottom clip. We don't need to loosen it completely, just enough so we can pull the hose off, then we can pop it off. I didn't piss it all over my driveway, huzzah! He can be taught. Now this is a 6 litre drip pan. Hopefully that should take all the coolant. And then what I'll probably need to do is drain this off into a suitable container and then flush out the engine. Makes me need to have a wee though. Right, so now I just need to remove the coolant temperature sensor whilst the car continues to drain off, because we're going to reuse the sensor temporarily unless the other one arrives in the post today, but I'm not too confident in that happening. Now the only thing I've not found is the bleed valve, either for the radiator or apparently there might be one of the intake manifolds somewhere. So I need to do some more research there. Very exciting screwing action here. One thing I do need to do is to treat this car to an engine bay. I wouldn't even go so far as to say a detail, but at least a wash. So I definitely need to clean that off at some point, because it's had some sort of thread sealant or something. That's proper crusty. We need to get these clips off, then we can unbolt the thermostat, then we can pop it off. Hey. Oh. So I'm removing the thermostat to give me a little bit better access to actually get off the hoses. I think with the thermostat in situ, it's just they're all the angle's all wrong. So hopefully this won't cause any problems. The majority of the coolant's drained out. There's probably a little bit left in the thermostat, but hopefully not too bad. So that's all nice and loose, and hopefully that can give me better access onto the hoses, and then ultimately removing this fairly old thermostat. I don't know if you can see, I've got this one to take off and this to pull off, and then this is out. The only problem we've got is that these hoses obviously have never been changed since the car was made in the factory, and they are so stuck on. It's ridiculous. So this hose is taking a lot of effort to remove, but we'll get there. We'll get there. There we go. Hey. Oh, my spine. We've got the old thermostat out. And it doesn't look too bad. I don't know if this is going to be able to pick up inside. Yeah, so it just looks old and grimy, but it looks all right. Just old, so definitely about time that it should have been replaced. So the only difference I've got with the old one, or the new one, is that this ring is larger. Well, the new ring is smaller, but I don't know if it just expands with time to fill. That I don't know, and I don't think I'll need RTV. So a lot of people, when they put on a thermostat, use sort of RTV sealant, and they really sort of cake it on. I don't like to do that. Not that I've done that or that many, but in the ones that I have done, if that gets into the coolant system, that could block a channel, it could damage the engine, all that sort of stuff. So it's not really worth the risk. So I'm going to put this on. I'll clean up the mating surfaces and then do a flush, but then I'll just whack this one on as is and get everything else hooked up. Hopefully this will fix in itself my not getting up to temperature issue. Let's find out. All the videos I've watched leave this one off just to help with bleeding and dispersal of air. So I'm going to do that now, and then once coolant starts pouring out of that, then I'll pop it back on. Now, there's still no temperature sensor, it still hasn't arrived, and the post has come and gone, so clearly that's not arriving today. So I'm going to put the old one back in for now, and then replace it when it arrives. I've just cleaned off the threads. I haven't put any RTV or anything like that because it's only going to be in there for a short time. All buttoned up. I need to torque up the bolts, which I'll do in a bit. I've just temporarily put all the hoses on because we're going to fill up in a second. Apart from those clips, this was actually so far a pretty easy job. It's those clips have literally added about an hour onto the actual task at hand, which is ridiculous. So to start with, I'm just putting an entire bottle in. It's a 50-50 mix, so I don't think it matters all that much how you actually put it in, but this is good for both batteries and steam irons, which is totally my segment. Just turned it on. It's late, everything's run out of battery. Pretty standard when working on cars. Always takes far longer than you think. So yeah, that took a little bit longer, mostly because of those clips, and then I foolishly filled up the system before putting the new clips on, so then I had to bend the Jubilee clips to fit, but you know, it got there in the end. So now I'm just going to monitor this for 5-10 minutes, wait for everything to heat up, and hopefully we're done. Oh, it gets even more exciting. So we are, even with the heating set to, even with heating on, and at full, our temperature's still increasing. So that's something I've not had for at least a week or so. So we're good. So from a slightly dark car, if you've watched this far, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you consider liking and subscribing. And with that, I'll catch you down the road.